Finally, we've shown you everything that's in the shop. I'm bare. You can see everything. This is it. We are going to announce what the whole point of this car was. Just like the Indy car, it kind of came up out of nowhere. When you have an opportunity, you try to take it. And with this car, we're about to do a build blitz. What we're going to do is get it running as quick as possible without cutting corners. It's just that we have so many different parts in the shop that are spare from the 3-rotor, from the 4-rotor, trying other things, even from the rotary Corvette, that we're going to use all those parts to make this car a nice little 400, maybe 500 horsepower track weapon. You see it from here. You're seeing it. I'm looking at you. You're looking at the car. The car looks beautiful. But when you get a little closer, just like any other vehicle, you see some interesting things pop up. So let's look at the things that we got to deal with first. It's not until you have a lift, especially for a person like me, that you start noticing things that you would not be able to see at eye level. And you can see that there is paint overrun. That doesn't exist if there wasn't repaint. So this car must have been resprayed at some point. And that leads me to looking at the car from a real shallow angle, and you can see the light bouncing off of it. You can see that there is a lot of orange peel. In fact, it's very rough, so it's like an overspray with the clear coat. What we're gonna do is wet sand this whole thing, maybe like 1,000, maybe 2,000 grit, get that nice and cleaned up, compound it, and then polish it and make this thing beautiful. I don't know how comfortable I am taking down these oversprays because they could be with the paint, they could be with the clear. I don't want to find out on the car. I wish we didn't have these hood clamps. We're gonna put the stock hood latch back on. You already know my luck with these, and I already didn't like hood pins to begin with. I think it's a lazy thing, unless it's a race car. Very pretty car, a lot of it's all white. Even this trim on my original FC was black. One of the coolest things about the 10th anniversary is that this is all white. Previous owner went and chose these wheels. I think we might go and use non-reps. And we're gonna put the really beautiful Kumo high-end level tire on there. These are all dry rotted. They're way, way unsafe to use for what we wanna do. Of course, we got the beautiful 10th anniversary. Somebody must have polished this one because I don't think they ever came in chrome. The other side is gold. You can see down here, you've got a little bit of rust showing through. We can touch this up. We can also get a little bit of clear. A buddy of mine, Charlie, actually showed me that you can fill certain spots in with clear and then polish it back down. You see some cracking from somebody doing something. But that's all cosmetic. At least my concerns here, especially because the car looks beautiful even from this close, and it'll look even prettier as we're done. This is hilarious. It's traditional, the old school style coilover. When you talk about coilovers nowadays, you do talk about the adjustment. These you could adjust a little bit, but A, they picked the wrong springs if you're gonna go this route, and B, there's no adjustment to set the preload. And what I mean by that is this thing is traveling so far that once the tire gets to ride height, there's maybe an inch, maybe a half of an inch of travel left on here. So it's gonna hit the bump, it's gonna hit the inside of the shock, or in this case, strut, and bottom out. And you can't adjust it, that's just the way it is. We're gonna look at getting upgraded suspension on this big time. That's gonna increase ride quality and us handling on the track. Speaking of handling the track, this car was a track car briefly, and that's why you see the half cage in here. And down here, you can take a look a little closer at my contraption. I cut the boring part out. I spent all yesterday prepping this because it's just raw, rough crap to deal with. But I welded those back in. Previous owner had cut them out and bolted some random seat bracket into there. We put the stock seat brackets back in from a different car, so some red car probably, and they didn't line up exactly. So I didn't like that. I spent a lot of time manipulating it, and as you guys have learned very quickly, preparation is like 99% of the work when it comes to welding. Welding is actually super easy when you get good at it. You got the underside that's all weather shit that's sprayed on there. You got all the other things, it's 30-year-old metal, so it popped a lot. So that's why I didn't film it, because it was very, very frustrating. We're good now. What we're gonna continue to do, because this brought up some red flags, which is kind of a weird meme right now. I don't know why red flags are a big, that's been a thing. Though if you've ever dated a girl, that's been a thing since the beginning of time, is just red flags. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna gut the rest of the car real quick, pull out the carpet, clean all that out, get it ready, but make sure we see what the previous or the original owner did to the car wiring wise. There are a couple of those like moments that I've seen. For example, look at this. So on this green wire right here, it's all exposed. It must have gotten rubbed raw by the seat. So we'll make sure that we protect that again. But who knows what other problems like that are. On the passenger side, you see random wires like my original work on the 3-rotor. Not gonna sit very well with me, but we're gonna go ahead and gut the car real quick and see how our situation and see what's gonna take to get this running. As soon as I got finished saying that, the camera guy, Joel, said something very negative to me. He said something very rude, and he said, compression test. And I don't know why that sort of, I don't know why we have that sort of negativity. We have so many good things going on in this shop. There's just no reason to just like bring that into a brand new car talk. Sadly, he's right. Let's lower down and take a look at what we have to compression test too. It's about to get weird. That noise was the spring self-aligning. That's horrible, absolutely horrible. These seats are definitely original and they smell very funky, but that's what those old leather seats do. We'll take the other one out as well, and then we're gonna pop the trunk. This is tinted, but the whole thing's tinted in bronze. This thing's got extra tint, and now you can see it because I finally opened this up. We're gonna slowly remove this without damaging the defrost lines. So actually, probably remove this now. I saw it bubbling, and that was the most exciting thing I've seen. Whoever did it did a good job, but we'll just gently go over all this. You know, no razors.
Is this stuff reusable?
It's that purple stuff from the 80s. Oh, that is satisfying. It's like a huge tint. I will actually tint this again, but the purple is not
Too
my
cool.
color of choice. And it's all bronze tinted. Like all the windows and everything are all naturally bronze tinted, which is custom to the 10th anniversary. And so we need to let that beautiful color.
Get darker bronze tint on here.
Yeah, I would do that. So gratifying when it, you know how many adhesive stickers just rip apart when you do it. This at least, there's a payoff. I can feel it fighting something.
Oh, what?
What the hell?
Oh yeah, that's so different. Look through this side. This is a clear
That's
window.
bronze under there.
Yeah, there's the bronze. Goes back to that original bronze color. So that's promising. So unfortunately, as much as I am a proponent of rotor engines, I love rotor engines with all my heart, I do not want these sort of stickers on the car.
How will they know?
I love rotor engines, but I hate a two-rotor open pipe. This is the stuff that we got from the previous owner. You know it's legit when it's got, like somebody had to like collate and double print and double side this stuff.
Microtech.
I am not going to run this. This might show my age a little bit. I'm okay with that because I've made progress with that time. But look at that. How many of you can tell me what this is quickly? That's a 9-pin DB9 9-pin serial port. This is the USB before USB existed. And all these sort of adapters. This is how you tuned. I used this to have a data login on my Power FC. Oh shit. Original. I didn't see that. Well, this is actually what I wanted to get to. And this is the original carpet, or at least an original carpet from a 10th anniversary. You can see all that padding, including that mealworm in the top. This is what we're going to be putting back into the car first.
Is he alive?
No, he's sleeping very, very deeply. So we'll clean this up because they only came in black on 10th anniversaries. Some 10th anniversary gave its life for this. Nothing replaces stock carpet. That's something big to me. What we're going to do first is let the RTV dry. Hit it with some Rust-Oleum type stuff to prevent it from rusting because welds rust as soon as you're done with them. Then put this back on. Shout out to Goodwill. If you ever go, there's a Goodwill like warehouse that all the Goodwills that don't sell shit put it in their warehouse. And I got this for $1 a pound, and it's those like $800, well, $600 vacuums. First we're gonna do is clean this one off before we start moving it and knocking it around. We do have a massive fuel system upgrade that is going to be minimal in terms of amperage. So we'll upgrade the fuel system unfairly, but let's just enjoy cleaning. Like this is like some, not ASMR, what's visual SMR? VSMR. Like that is just sick to see all that shit get out of there. This is the one that's gonna be really fun. We're probably gonna get a steam cleaner for this. Oh, that is picking it up. We'll definitely need a different attachment, but this is really gratifying. Carpet looks plush and full for being about 35 years old. You know another 35-year-old carpet doesn't look so plush and full? 2 out of every 3 men's hairline. 2 out of every 3 men experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they hit 35. It does not longer look like this, it looks more like this in the front corners of your hair, as well as up at the very top. You can see right there, these corners, they ride up way further than you want them to, way sooner than you want them to, as well as up here. But thankfully, even out here and all the heat and all the oils in my hair and everything, you still see there's plenty of hair to have oil in. There are a variety of solutions, not only, but including minoxidil, which is FDA approved for preventing and reducing hair loss on men just like myself, which is funny enough, when you think of the 2 out of every 3 men, I realize that there are 3 Dahm brothers, myself and my 2 brothers, and all 3 of us experience male pattern baldness. But thankfully, because I use Keeps and I use it in a preventative manner, my hairline is better than both of my younger brothers. When you go on Keeps website, it answers all of your questions, the fear and uncertainty and concerns you have about hair loss. It's all answered. Go to keeps.com/RobDahm for a special offer on your first order. That's KEEPS.com/RobDahm. If you guys ever have the opportunity to rent one of these machines, it is like the bee's knees when it comes to steam cleaning. I do not want to own a steam cleaner. I don't want to be that much of an adult, but this makes me feel good. So you're supposed to use super hot water, but you don't need to use hot water. Watch how dirty this thing gets. We're actually gonna use it to clean the shop after we're done filming this. I've had to do this so many times. My parents actually own one of these because they're weird and obsessive like that. But we are going to use this to clean the carpet and then the rear carpet on this car. This is going to be one of those super gratifying things, just because you watch the water get so gross.
Are you straight up gonna roll it on there, or use
No, the handle part.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure.
We cleaned the nozzle out of this thing, and now we are at 100% ready to finally show you guys how cool this will be. Oh, beautiful. So beautiful. God, that is so gratifying. It looks like they ran like a mat. We ran out of that tank. It's so sick. I want you guys to see this. It is a thing of beauty. So all that shit, we're gonna go ahead and dump that in the toilet, and then we're gonna do one last run, and then we'll dry the shit out of this thing. But my God, did the previous owner get good carpet? That is already halfway done and looks stunning. Oops. That is so gross. There we go. This is really not the most in-depth thing. We could have done a GoPro and done a beautiful time lapse of this, because this is just one of those cases where you see a before and after, and it is nuts. A couple of things to note is I didn't go really hard on it because I didn't want to unravel and start causing problems. You know, you start getting agitated and it treats it like your feet would. So no reason for that. I'm probably gonna have Chris go back over this when I'm done with the back of the car, just to really get all the moisture out of here. Maybe I might hit some of these spots one more time, but it's, you know, diminishing returns at that point. Carpet's in phenomenal shape. That cleaner probably has some sort of ways of cleaning and reconditioning the carpet as well, because it was a little dry. But we're talking about a 1988 vehicle. This is 1988 carpet. So this isn't nearly as plush, but it's still nice. So we don't want to saturate it. See how thin this stuff is. But I was going to remove it, but the roll cage makes that not so fun. So we're going to hit this area, clean that up, hit these sides, clean that up, and then get some air into the car. Already see such a big difference, just even dust sitting on these things over time. Well, my years of being a detailer It paid off a little bit. Never the Ammo NYC level, but just, you know, reasonable for Monroe, Michigan. This is starting to turn into a very, very beautiful car. So I cleaned all this. This is a very thin carpet, as you saw earlier. And the funny part about that is it shoots the water straight through it, and it also sucks straight through it, so it doesn't really get a good vacuum to pull everything out, oddly enough. Tops of those are all clean. The back side of this is clean. And as that other big piece dries, God, that looks beautiful. I'm gonna hit the last bit, which is the door cards, just to get the little bottom parts of those. And then this card is done. And we're gonna put this thing to use elsewhere in the shop. This terrifies me. All this wiring is very 1990s and Rob Dahm, which is a combination I don't ever want to go back to. So we'll do that. This actually I think is out of a first gen RX-7, so we'll remove that as well. We got a lot of cleanup in here. It's room for activities. We're gonna pull the dash as well just to see what's behind there. Aww, a baby. Goodbye, baby. Your weight reduction. We should run these here. I'm sure somebody does that as a drag front tire. Take a look at this. We have, what the hell? We have one long. This is why we're doing this, because of people like me. We have access to the top of the fuel system here. It looks like this was ran as part of the fuel system in good old electrical tape, but we'll run a fresh relay, fresh clean power to all the things that matter and are very, very system important, including the fuel system. So we're gonna run a new feeder pump inside of here, and then we're gonna run a surge tank, so that way the car can slosh around and have no problem. Maybe we can put the surge tank down there. Somewhere safe, somewhere quiet, somewhere where we can get clean power. But we'll take all this carpet out too because of just this. I don't know what this wire is. Probably somebody did the power relay mod that was pretty popular. But we'll take the rest of this carpet out. We'll probably put a battery behind one of these two as well. Do kind of our standard formula for battery location and pumps, and this back of the half of the car is done very quickly. This is really cool. I used to run a detail shop for a little while. I bought it, and it was just a bad idea back in Michigan. But Formula 409 or something with ammonia inside of it will eat the adhesive, the tint. I don't know what it's doing, but you can actually see it starting to create little pockets of air, basically, or fluid underneath the second layer of surface. But it's already, the adhesive itself is already just turning into goo. We turned ourselves into Dexter, which, by the way, came back out. I'm curious to watch that. We're spraying this like a couple times over with Formula 409, hitting it with my heat gun meant for wiring, and we're hitting it with this, and simulating the power of the sun. The most important thing in the car has to be testing, you guessed it, the pop-ups. Let's see if this works. We've been spending the last 2 hours on the rear window, and my God, does that suck.
Oh, it's winking.
Uh-oh. I only see one. It's sleepy eye mod. There's the connector.
Thought you plugged it in.
I did not, apparently.
Hey.
Here we go.
Whoa, that's so weird. I'm so used to FD ones.
Yeah, very traditional. I'll drop them back down. Now here, watch this. This is something that the stock FD can do as well.
Sick.
So I can turn on. That all works. Hell yeah. We're gonna have some fun with that because that is super clean. It's making me love this car more and more. All three of us have been working very hard, but Chris has been working on this while we've been taking inventory using the Steam. Fuck. I saw him put his hand on it. Steam is very hot, in case you guys don't know that. Between steam and ammonia, I'm sure we're going absolutely crazy here, but look at the results. You can see the beautiful bronze tint that's naturally in the rear windshield, as well as all the sides and everything. Oh, if I was a British car YouTuber, I'd be like, this is absolutely mental. You guys remember Grimace from McDonald's? I don't know why, but that's what this reminds me of. Proper unboxing. And this one comes from Fuel Lab. I've not had the chance to work with Fuel Lab directly. I've bought all the products I've gotten from them. A lot of my fuel filters are all Fuel Lab, so I've had wonderful experience with their products, but this takes it up a notch. So as you guys know, my brother has done the fuel system for the 3-rotor. It's phenomenal, absolutely beast mode. But this is something that's more economical, and I mean that as in like a track day beginner kit. It is premium. It is a quality kit, but this is a great place to start, and I'm excited to try this on the 10th anniversary. Our intention is to find the lowest amperage use kit, so that way you're not pushing tons of amps to the back of the car, and when you do tons of amps, that means there's a massive voltage drop, and that means lower performance. So this is a kit meant to be OEM++. Right here is, I think, the beginning of something really sick. Beautiful brown paper. That's my secret. More boxes. Nice little wiring kit. Ooh, I like this, so I can make my own wires. Baby little controller. So this, I think, is a game changer for what we're gonna do. That is a baby brushless pump. It looks like very similar to the Walbro, 450s, those sort of things, but it's far, far more capable. So it's a brushless little guy, so it's got high performance for low current usage. Got a little booty sock for filtering, this little pigtail, clean Teflon wiring there, and then that's controlled by this little thing here. So very, very small. I thought this was much bigger in the pictures. A very, very small, controllable way of doing the in-tank feeding for the car. So this will kick up a ton of fuel for ethanol, for regular gas, methanol, for a 400 to 500 horsepower monster. This alone is amazing, but we want to track this car. We actually want to have it sloshing side to side. And I have, on the 3-rotor in the past, had issues where when you have the stock pump position, and you accelerate with less than half a tank, you can actually starve the pumps. They're just pulling so much fuel so quickly that you'll end up grabbing some air. This is a feeder pump, a very low current usage feeder pump for this beast right here is the other half of my equation. That is excellent sizing. So this is a surge tank, and those of you guys that aren't familiar with surge tanks, it really is just a baby gas tank. But the trick to baby gas tanks like this one are that they're very vertical. So they're very resistant to sploshing around and getting air to the bottom, because it's kind of like a graduated cylinder almost, to where the pump is pulling from down here. This thing is constantly being filled with fuel because of this guy. And so no matter what, this thing is full of fuel. And that's what a surge tank is. It's simple enough. A lot of people try to make it complicated. Surge tanks like this are beautiful. What's cool is we have an even higher power brushless pump in this thing. Might even be the same one. It's just that it's more unrestricted. And this thing is capable of sending a shit ton of fuel to our engine. Far overkill, but we're talking maybe 20 amps of power usage between these two. So we get not only the tank pump, which would be 10 amps or less, and then we get another pump here, which is about 10 amps, and now we have all of the functionality you could ever imagine for a rotary engine. This is a very solid constructed piece of machinery. It's all aluminum, so it's not super heavy, but you can tell it can take a beating. All right. That's a pump. So it's hidden inside of there. With this being well over a quart or a liter, I think it's almost 2, if not more than 2, you are constantly filling this with fuel, so maybe you'll get some air up here, but it's all settling down at the bottom, and you've got tons of fuel left. If, say, for some reason you cut fuel to the tank, you still have plenty of fuel for the next minute or so of action until this comes back online. Because remember, this pump will actually occasionally be experiencing air because it's in the tank. So if you're under half a tank and the car sloshes to the side, this thing's picking up fuel, picking up air, it's just dumping it into the top right up here. The air settles out, and then it just keeps going. So this will never experience what you would call as a surge. What are all 3 of these lines? Well, they all connect into the same open space right there. Why do you need 3? Kind of a cool setup. One is the feed from the tank. So let's pretend the massive gas tank's here, feeding into this, dropping down into the thing, somewhere probably up here. 2 is once this starts filling up too much, it returns back to the tank because you're constantly pumping fuel into here. So it's got to have a way of getting the excess back there. And then 3 is when you're sending fuel to the engine is going to send back the rest of the fuel through the regulator to here. So these 2 are kind of dumping fuel back in. One of them is just taking that top layer of fuel and putting it back into the tank. That way this thing stays full at all times and is returning and doing all the other stuff. So look at that nice O-ring setup right there. Didn't know that this upgrade kit existed. And it's probably saving a lot of effort and time just trying to do this yourself. You have a pre-made line. Oh, this allows you to adapt it if you're turning it. It's not as excited as I am about this kit. Let's just put it that way. So you got a nice clean fuel filter. And what we're gonna do on this whole system is, you guys know I'm obsessed with filtering my fuel. We've got the little sock pulling from this one. So shit will be in the bottom of the tank right now, right? Metal filings, if it's aluminum, it's probably Isaiah. This will filter out all that shit. This pump will still take in very small things, but it will then filter that going into here. So then this pump stays at high quality. There's not any real major big things in here. And then finally, as it goes from here to the engine, you have another big filter filtering all the way down to 10 or 6 microns. This has got a nice billet aluminum piece for holding this. And then I think the other piece that I really like, so you can have this mounted to this instead of making your own holes. And then this bigger plate can be mounted to a car. So we will have this set up with this filter. Oh, that explains one more thing then. Those filters here. Oh my God, this is sick. Okay. Sad penis there. And then, that's what this is for. Wow. I was like, okay, that's cool that they gave a hose. I guess that's cool. Okay, I'm impressed. And then from here, send the fuel off however you want. The kit's way more thought out than I am. Oh, that's nice. Look at that. So you tighten it like this. Get the O-ring where you want it to be. Probably like right there. And then you tighten this. That is a nice piece. I would never have bought this kit because I think poorly of that idea, and then I would have missed out on all of this. I mean, how many times have we had shit kits too, though?
Yeah.
There you go. That is so clean, so certain. You just know it's gonna work just fine. Let's show everybody where we think this is gonna go and how we're gonna mount that to the car. This was a pain in the ass, as you guys saw earlier in the video. That took a lot of time to remove that, but oh, that looks beautiful. So with the height of this thing, I think, keeping it low and centered is always our main goal. Mostly low and mostly centered. The dream position would be right behind the driver. But I don't want to start cutting holes in the carpet. Here's the bulkhead, or the top of the fuel tank cover. We'll definitely be running 2 wires in this sort of configuration down to the feeder pump, and then have the controller sitting outside of here, so it's not in the car area. But there's gonna be hoses, either A, coming out of here, or B, the way it is right now, underneath here, under the car. That makes me think that down here would be a phenomenal spot. With a little bit of planning, let's just some sound deadening. Now this is where the spare tire goes, but we're not gonna be using that. So we could build a mount. Wow, that actually, oh my God, that is really nice. Of course, everybody's concerned, like if you think of like a Pinto, my concern would be getting hit in the rear, but this is such a contained unit, I'm not really worried about that. The tank is right there, so if we're gonna get hit and crush something this strong, we're definitely gonna crush the tank. Oh my God, I did not expect it to fit in that space with that whole base and everything. So we will modify the chassis a little bit with some bulkheads to do in and out for the tank, and then in and out to the front of the car. And then we never have to think about the fuel system ever again. Joel's right. Joel is right. We need to compression test this. We got some weird things when we lifted the car up. The drivetrain's doing weird shit. So we definitely need to assess the rear diff, the transmission, and the engine independently. We will pull this motor because I love the idea of pulling this motor and making an OEM++ setup. We'll probably go with something different. We could use all this. Maybe we won't. But we will. I really am curious to use the old turbo and then swap to a newer one. We definitely need compression numbers. There's just a lot of shit that we're gonna pull off of this and upgrade big time. But we'll try and figure out how to get the starter hooked up, even if we're kind of short sheeting it and just making it work. We took the old battery out of the 3-rotor that's been out of it for a little while. Joel doesn't realize what voltages are. We're at 10.4. Yeah, that's close to 12, but that is not a good close. I wish we had an anti-gravity battery for this one. That's totally overkill, beautifully overkill. Maybe we can get one of the smaller ones. Oh, you know what we can do? We can use the thing that they gave us at SEMA.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna test that, but first we're gonna plug this in and see if it causes the car to do anything. This is not good voltage. A hilarious use of jack stands for sure. Okay, like I said, this car is 10 point. Let's see how much it is once the battery just gets some load on it. 7.6. That's beautiful. Okay, so I turned this heat off, and we're at 9.2 volts. We're gonna bust out the big boy right here, which this thing Bart gave me at SEMA, and it's capable. He claims it's capable of actually starting a dead battery. So this one's mostly dead. This is a very dead battery. I charged this thing all up last night. Coincidentally, did not expect this to be the first time to use it. But what I'm curious to see is, I want you to see how much voltage this thing does or does not have. So I connected it. It's blinking green. And there's a boost right here.
Oh, wow.
12.4. That is perfect. It has nothing to do with this, because I don't even know if the starter relay is hooked up, but we'll see if the car does anything. Oh, hell yeah, off of that little lithium thing, it actually turns over very smooth. That's impressive. That is actually really impressive. The thing turned off as it's supposed to. It's connected and all that, but it's all smart. Of course, once the car's running for about 30 seconds, you want to take it off. I read that in the instructions, but that is impressive. That's so sick. Jump starting a completely dead battery. So Joel wants a compression test, and Joel will get a compression test.
It does sound like it has compression.
Yeah, it did. That was actually impressive. We'll compression test it without adding fluid either. So this will be just what we've got. This car's been sitting for a while. I'm gonna take this off for a second and run this on the charger. Both trailing plugs were out when you heard that. We've got the rotary compression tester hooked up. Talk to my man Steve Miracle if you need one of these. It's just ridiculously simple to use. We'll turn it on. We're gonna have the gas pedal wide open for this. Okay, turn this on. This on. We're at full power, 12.4 full. It'll correct it in a second. Yeah, that's a really good sign. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna switch to the other one.
Was that the front rotor? Or?
So that was front rotor. We're gonna swap over to the rear rotor right now. But yeah, that thing proves it's capable of jump starting a dead battery. Just again, turn that on. We're good on voltage.
Even better.
Yeah, that one, because it was spinning properly. But we have to look at the corrected values.
It was like 120.
No way.
Yeah, corrected.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so this engine's brand new. Joel just confirmed all of our opposite of our worst fears. It actually creates more of an issue for us than not creating an issue. Having a perfect compression motor right now does confirm the previous owner's story that, yeah, this engine was rebuilt, it was all new parts. Downside is, that's a stock engine. It's not a billet or a doweled or a modified or reported. That is a solid Series 5 Turbo 2 engine. I need a moment to think about what we're gonna do with it, but there you go. When you deal with certain people in the rotary community, they are dead honest, and others are not so much, but thankfully, I get to deal with one of the good ones.